This is Laura Cross of Rebel Seed Films and Entertainment. Today my guest is John Spare, who is one of the winners of the 2015 Adapted Screenplay Competition. He won for his script Cold, Quiet Country, which was adapted from the book by Clayton Lindemuth. After 2 decades in the film exhibition agency as a senior-level executive, John turned his efforts to writing for the stage and screen. Having earned a merit scholarship at Pittsburgh's prestigious Point Park University, John is currently enrolled in the Master of Fine Arts program working toward his graduate degree in screenwriting. He is the author of over 8 screenplays and has received recognition for several of his works. He currently lives in Maryland, where he is employed as a communications specialist with a prestigious suburban Washington, D.C. agency. Hey, John, welcome to the podcast. I'm excited to have you here.
Hi, I'm excited as well. Thanks for having me.
Now, I know that you were a senior-level executive for the film exhibition agency.
I was.
You were, and now you write for stage and screen. So tell us about that career and how you transitioned into what you're currently doing. How did you get started as a screenwriter?
Things I think John Lennon said, life is what happens when you're making other plans. I started out at undergrad school as an English major. My intent was to write, but in order to pay the bills, as most students do, and this is back in the late 80s, I took a job at a movie theater, cleaning floors and cleaning bathrooms and, things like that. And it just kind of escalated to, assistant manager, projectionist. And then when I graduated, I took the first job I could get, which was at a movie theater, and I just kind of gradually started working my way up the ranks in that industry to become a vice president with a company on the East Coast. We had theaters in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and I kind of got sucked in, I guess, to that end of the business, and all hopes of writing were kind of just put on the back burner as I was starting a family and making money and everything else that happens, hopefully, once you graduate college. So it was just one of those things that I just kind of fell into. Never had an intention to do that. As a matter of fact, I don't think I took one single business course when I was in undergrad, which was just amazing to me because that's all I'd done for most of my career was operate a business.
So what types of stories are you interested in telling? What inspires or motivates you as a screenwriter?
Well, actually, when I started writing specs, my intent was, and I did a lot of research and I did a lot of self-education, on writing, and I wanted to try to write in every genre. I wanted to try to write at least one script in every genre just to have that experience.
That's pretty ambitious.
It is, but I didn't want to be a one-trick pony. I mean, I knew, obviously, that I wouldn't be as good of a, say, science fiction writer as a comedy writer. Obviously everyone has to see where their limitations and where their strengths are. But that was my initial intent, was to attempt to write one script in every genre and actually adapt a work, too. That was always kind of on my radar, which leads us to this conversation. So, like I said, my intent was to write a script in each genre, and then to try to fill my legs, find out where my strengths and my weaknesses were. Basically, screenwriting is when it comes right down to it, it's storytelling. Genre is important, of course, but I found that I like to tell stories in each genre, and I would say probably drama would be where my inclinations are.
So you really found your voice there.
I think so.
And now you're currently working toward a graduate degree in screenwriting.
Yes.
How has that helped you develop as a writer, and do you recommend MFA programs for other screenwriters?
It's I don't think it's for everybody, but it's definitely for me because, being older, I'm not the typical screenwriter trying to break into the industry. I'm pushing, 45 here. I kind of had been writing in a vacuum without much outlet for feedback or for criticism. And when I had the opportunity to enroll in the MFA program in screenwriting at Point Park in Pittsburgh, it helped me tremendously. Now, like I said, I'm still currently enrolled, but just to be surrounded by your peers, just to be surrounded by people that are in your wheelhouse, so to speak, it's a tremendous help because you're not alone. You have other people like yourself to to bounce concepts and get feedback from, and to me it's tremendously helpful. I'd send scripts out for coverage, and it's crazy because you send the same script out to two different places for coverage, and one place loves it, gives you good notes. The other place says this is ridiculous and start over. So it's so subjective. But to be able to be in a room, or to be on a phone or in line or in a Skype conference with your peers and get real-time feedback, I think it's valuable. So it works for me.
Now, you've won and placed in several screenwriting competitions. What do you attribute your success to? Do you think it's your education or the fact that you've written so many scripts, or?
Honestly, I don't know if it's a little bit of luck, a little bit of skill. I think obviously being in the film exhibition industry for so many years helped me in a sense that I kind of knew or got to know what people liked. I can't tell you how many times I'd be at one of our megaplexes in New York on a Saturday night and hear the audience coming out telling me how terrible that movie was that was supposed to be the big picture for that weekend. So you kind of learn what works and what doesn't, what resonates with an audience, and what is just a popcorn film that's there really to make money and turn around and make money on video, after the theatrical run. So it's just one of those things. I think I was fortunate enough to be close, to the business on that end and to have a writing background and a writing degree as well, and just the desire to want to tell a good story.
Let's move into and talk a little bit about Cold Quiet Country, which is the script that won in the Adapted Screenplay competition. What attracted you to Clayton's book called Cold Quiet Country as well?
Well, this is actually a pretty amazing story. Luckily for me, I was in the right place at the right time. Clayton Lindemuth is an extremely talented writer, and I had the privilege of going to high school with him, actually junior high through high school. And like I said, we're from a very small town, one stoplight, almost like the setting in Cold Quiet Country. And I'd lost touch with him over the years. We actually went to undergraduate school as well, but life happens, as I said earlier. And I noticed on Facebook probably about 3 years ago that he had published his first novel, and I reached out to him to congratulate him, and just so happened he was going to be in Pittsburgh over the holidays. So we met for lunch, and we talked writing, and I told him that I'd written 3 scripts at that point, more for me than to sell. I just wanted to see how I was as a writer, how I performed. And I'd read his book, and he actually ran it up the flagpole. Why don't you take a crack at adapting the novel, which you could have knocked me over with a feather, because I was so impressed with the novel, and that was always one of the things on my bucket list, so to speak, was to adapt a work. And I jumped at the chance, so I spent the next 3 months or so writing the first draft, and couldn't wait to get it to him. And he was pleased, which was another tough phone conversation, because you never know when you're taking someone else's work how they're going to react to it. Because I had to take liberties with it, of course. You can't condense a huge novel that's close to 600 pages into a 120-page script without making some changes to it. But luckily, fortunately for me, he really appreciated it, and it really helped me realize that I do have the ability to do this.
Mm-hmm. It is a talent unto itself, adapting material.
It was fun, though. I mean, it really was. It was a different experience, and I look forward to doing more adaptations and to working with Clayton again.
And let's talk a little bit about what those considerations that you had to make when adapting the novel into a screenplay. You talked about condensing it, of course, because it was so long.
Right.
What other things did you have to consider during the adaptation?
Well, one of the big things in any script that has to be considered, and I think this is good advice for any writer, is you have to consider the budget. You have to consider, the end goal is to get the film optioned, sold, produced. And of course, it's just the blueprint. It's going to, morph into other things as it goes through the actor's hands and the director's hands and so forth. But you have to write for the budget. You can't expect to go out with a spec screenplay with insane special effects and epic war battles and so on and so forth, because unfortunately it's just, very slim chance that it'll ever get made. So I looked at the novel and tried to condense it in a sense as far as setting goes and as far as character count goes. Like I said, a few characters got morphed and blended into one on several occasions, and certain settings were changed to be something more realistic, as a backyard barbecue or a Mason's meeting, let's say, as opposed to a huge stadium or horse racing track,
So you had to think about the set pieces, the big action set
Absolutely.
pieces.
I think every writer should do that. I think it's good practice to try to write, within a specific scope.
So what are you currently doing with that script?
Interesting enough, we've had a few phone calls, a few interests. I know Clayton's very interested in seeing it optioned and seeing it produced. I mean, who wouldn't want to see their novel, on the big screen?
So what's in your future? What projects are you working on?
Well, short of the master's degree in screenwriting, which is my big focus right now, I have, like I said, I'm toying with the idea of adapting another one of Clayton's novels. I had some very good concepts come up during the past semester, some shorts that you write that I don't think I did justice as far as a short script goes. I'd like to see them fleshed out into a feature. And again, I have I have 4 other features out there as well. I did just option a script within the past 2 months, so that was very fortunate. Whether it had anything to do with the success I had with Cold Quiet Country and the competition, I don't know, but like I said, my phone's starting to ring.
Oh, good. That's exciting. So any last tips or words of wisdom that you'd like to share with other screenwriters? Like I said, I'm an old guy. I mean, I know 45 may not sound old, but I just started doing this within the past 5 years, and it's one of those things that I always wanted to be a writer and to write scripts, but I kind of got sidetracked. Well, now I have the ability and the time and the desire, which is the most important thing, to do it. I don't think writers can write without a fire in their belly or without the desire to do it. If you're writing for the money or the recognition or the celebrity, I suggest it's easier finding that somewhere else. If you don't have the ambition to write and it's not a passion that drives you every day, I would pick up learning to play guitar or something else. You know what I mean? So it's never too late to get started as a writer. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you sharing your experiences with us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Laura.